This is Master 624 here. Just reminiscing about the WWF buyout of WCW that happened to this day 11 years ago. I remember where I was. I was watching it, and I remember Vince first showing up on the screen saying that, he has the WCW in the palm of his hands. That was kind of a ritual for me because WCW came on, I believe it was either an hour or 2 hours before Raw. And so, I tuned in to WCW, and it was just crazy to me. Well, I followed the dirt sheets back then. Used to go to ProWrestling.com and LordsOfPain.net. Go on there, and of course they said that, WWF bought, WCW. I thought it was wild, and I was just kind of anticipating to see what they would do as far as this buyout. And then, Monday came, and it was just a weird atmosphere. I know Bischoff had been trying to, purchase WCW, for himself. And of course, if you guys watch the Monday Night Wars, you guys will understand a little bit of the backstory on that. But for me, WCW dying, I think it was very sad for wrestling, for me personally, because I used to love having having the choice of, flicking back and forth between the different shows. I remember, and this is way pre, 2000. Of course, Jericho had, debuted in 1999, but when Jericho was on WCW Nitro, those were some good times. I would actually have to flick the channel back over there to WCW, and for the NWO, that whole NWO period, I found myself watching Nitro a lot more than I was WWF at the time. It was around the 2006 era, when Stone Cold, he kind of just won King of the Ring, with Jake the Snake. It was still kind of, it wasn't quite, the Attitude Era yet. It was still on the fringe of, becoming the Attitude Era. But WCW was doing something that was way different. You had Hogan, who was the man. And then everybody that you could think of under the sun was joining the NWO, which kind of killed it in the end. But they did have some meat in there. But I'll never forget the quote that Hogan said when they cut Kurt Hennig and a couple of other guys, and they kind of split the NWO, or kind of, I believe, disbanded a lot of the NWO. Hulk Hogan said we're cutting the fat from the NWO, and they cut Kurt Hennig, but kept Vincent. Now that was BS to me. I think Vincent was more fat than meat, but that's a different story. But in the end, I think that the whole buyout had a lot of potential to take wrestling somewhere else as far as the new feuds that can happen. And I think that if they did go that route and kept it on a different station and let it run as it is, but change up the storylines, not having everybody book their own matches a la Kevin Nash, I think it would have worked out a lot better. Have those frequent WWF stars jump ship over and be able to fight some of the WCW guys. A lot of them were WCW guys in the first place anyway. I just think that it would have been better for them to keep it separate. But of course, Vince doesn't want to, have another show outdo him or one up him. So, he wants to kind of, stick it to him one more time and just have all the WWF guys just beat up all the WCW guys. It was pretty sad. The whole invasion angle, it was just horrible. It had a lot of potential. I was thinking that they were going to get their own show. It would have been great, but of course they didn't have all the main pieces. They had their big contracts that they were sitting on, and they were, waiting for those contracts to end because they would make more money sitting on those contracts than they would accepting a buyout or then just coming in and working with a new contract. So hey, they're gonna make the same or maybe more money. They might as well just sit out on it. So this last Nitro, what I do remember a lot about this last Nitro was definitely the Sting versus Ric Flair match. Of course, that's the picture that's going on right now. You can tell Ric Flair had some. He was very emotional about it. I remember in watching on WCW Nitro War, the DVD. He said he was just happy to see it go, and he said he knew that it would have a life afterwards. But of course, we all know what happened with it. But I think they should have saved it. I really do. I've been a wrestling fan since 1985. If you followed my other videos, I say that. But WCW was that show. I used to watch it in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Ron Simmons, Vader running things. Those were good times. I think the legacy of WCW is going to be one that a lot of people like myself will remember for the glory days back in the early 90s. Not so much of the stuff that happened towards 2000, 2001, with its demise. At that point, it was pretty much a done deal. Vince Russo had pretty much just killed WCW single-handedly. He did what Vince McMahon couldn't do until 2001. But I kind of miss it. I really do miss it. I just remember just all the crazy stuff they would do. And I was a sucker. I was a sucker for the whole ending of the show with Sting coming, or either he'll come down the rafters or he'll stay up in the rafters. The show always ended the same, but for some reason I kept watching it. Don't know why. But it was just something. Alright, well, that's my little rant. Subscribe. Let's discuss this. Share your WCW memories. Peace out.